Welcome to the Mindset Connection podcast. We are your hosts, Jen Clearwaters and Cindy O'Connell, and we are back again with another episode where we are showcasing everyday people doing amazing things in the mental health and wellness space. And today we want to welcome our guest, Shawna Lougee. Hi, Shawna.
Hi, guys.
Yeah, let me tell you a little bit about Shawna. Shawna is the marketing manager for the Society for the Prevention of Teen Suicide and Lead You. She began her marketing journey unexpectedly at age 21 when she was recruited to be a Bud Light girl for a local beer distributor, which we'll have to ask you about. Shawna fell into the world of brand management and promotional marketing. Although she pivoted from her early childhood education career into the marketing world, Shawna always had an incredible passion for kids. She was always the designated babysitter. She worked part-time at a daycare, and she even worked as a nanny. She always enjoyed being around children and witnessing their personalities starting to shine. With her current position at SPTS, Shawna gets the best of both worlds. She enjoys using her marketing skills to bring awareness to the importance of mental health and connecting with inspiring people and making an impact on today's youth. Her passion for this cause is also something close to home. At age 27, Shawna lost her boyfriend unexpectedly, which changed her life and sent her down a very difficult road as she was coping with intense grief, anxiety, depression, and suicidal ideation. Today, Shawna works to turn her pain into beauty through her work with SPTS, through writing poetry and the impact she hopes to make on others along the way. So we welcome Shawna to our podcast, and we can't wait to hear all about that.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Wow.
Appreciate it.
All right. So tell us about your work with SPTS and what do you think is the most fulfilling part of the job?
Yes. So what I do at SPTS, I'm their marketing manager. So I get to run all of our social media channels. I promote all of the programs and resources and events that we do. So I kind of connect with the community through our phone, through the internet, things like that. The most fulfilling part of it is, I think, making people aware that we're there, and also getting to engage. And just, I love when someone comes up to me, this is probably my favorite thing, and I'm at an event and they're like, oh, we saw this reminder you posted on social media, and like, thank you, like, we really needed that today. Or the work that you're doing with Lead You, we love to see all the kids' excitement and the interactions that you guys have. So people like recognizing who we are, because I want to make SPTS like a personal brand that people can connect with. Like, we're not a crisis line, but we also are there to provide education and resources. So that always, it really makes my heart full when someone's like, thank you.
Well, if you haven't seen any of Shawna's work, I highly recommend that you go to the Instagram page for SPTS. I mean, she's done some work for Jen and I. And
you can look at ours too. She's doing an amazing job.
She is amazing. So, yeah, so that's great. So, during the SPTS, your events, you're interacting with so many of the students, and tell us what you're seeing and hearing, and tell us also if you think that you're making some kind of an effect on them.
Yeah. So when I do get to go to events, they are usually the larger ones, which is luckily where I met you guys. We have a Be Swell Summit that happens that is with high school students, and those ones I get to actually really like see the workshops and interact with them. And I just think being heard and putting them in an atmosphere where they're comfortable. Like, we recently just had one, and it was a smaller, intimate setting, and it was really wonderful for me to watch. They were doing an art workshop, which was the first time we've ever done something like that. And they were doing like blackout poetry, which obviously sits all close to my heart. And they were excited to just share. And I feel like that in itself, for me to watch in experience, I was like, wow, like, they're comfortable enough. They feel safe to just be like, hey, look what I did. Look what I did. Do you want to see it? And then they came into like the big room and they were showing the rest of our staff like, hey, can you look at this? And this is why I did this. And this is how I was feeling. And to feel comfortable with people that you don't really know. And then also to be comfortable enough to share in front of your peers without feeling like judgment, I think is a really nice thing. And I just think giving them the space to be heard and feel okay that, we're here to listen and we're giving you that opportunity. I enjoy being able to go to the things like that.
So, having been a part of the summits,
Yeah.
Jen and I working with the educators, but when we're walking around and we're seeing the students, you can see that students are comfortable. It goes back to that same old thing. Somebody sees you, they hear you, they validate you.
Yep.
But absolutely, the staff at SPTS, at Lead You, make students feel comfortable.
And there's so much energy there.
My gosh, it's
So I
just
think it's good.
incredible.
It
Energy
starts
level.
out
It
with,
starts
the
out
energy.
with positive
Yeah.
because
Yes.
these summits start at 7:30 in the morning.
Yes.
Yeah, and I know, like, if
But-
I was in high school at 7:30 in the
It's
morning,
tough.
like,
Yes.
We know there's a lot of
There's a
energy
lot
there,
of
and
energy
going
it's
on
just
there.
a fun day.
You leave feeling
and
great.
I feel like adults could use those days.
Yeah, well, it's great to
So-
see the teachers too. Like
Yes.
when they're enjoying and laughing and kind of playing these activities that we do with their students, or they're leaving and they're going to a workshop and they come out of it, and teachers really need that extra love. Like,
No question.
and they come out and they're like, wow, like, thank you. I didn't really know I need that. So I think across the board, it's great to be able to witness and experience moments like that you really don't have in like your day-to-day life with people.
Very true.
People don't realize too, like when you hear the Society for the Prevention of Teen Suicide, like that's got a kind of dark connotation.
Yeah.
So when you're having these summits from what we see, we go in and we see people having a great time all day long. So how do you get that message across to students that when they're coming, they're not just going to be talking about suicide? Because that's what people kind of think.
Yeah.
Unless you have come to these events.
It is, I think we also refer to it a lot as SPTS, but
Mm-hmm.
when we're doing things like this, I think leading in with Lead You is usually our opener. And the way that they kind of address the topic, it's not a very in your face like suicide. It's more of like, we're going to teach you the skills of how to, maybe live your life, respect others, lead with kindness. Here's coping skills if you're feeling stressed out. Here's a way to make smart choices. So I think in a roundabout way is really helpful and makes the kids feel safe. And it's like, we're not here to, like JD says, we're not here to preach to you. We're not here to preach or to tell you how to live your life. We just want to give you the skills, and leading with that. And like, here's a game about active listening. You're going to grab a cone off the ground. And like, that's what you're doing at 8 o'clock in the morning, and like really enjoying yourself to then be like, okay, like maybe we're not going to sit here and have a soupy heavy discussion at 8 a.m. But later on, if you feel comfortable, the space is there. So I think the way that we do it and the order that we do it in is very helpful for teenagers and for adults as well. I think it just gives you a little bit of a warmer feeling, I think.
Yeah, no,
Totally
Shawna,
does.
that was beautifully
think.
said, and I think if people didn't understand what the work is,
Yeah.
now they will.
Yeah.
Or even
That
the
was
students
just-
who come to these, they might not understand why, because it's not like you're bringing the entire school. It's
a
a select
selective
number
group.
of
Yeah.
students and teachers that are accompanying them, but you might have kids that are kind of like, why did I get picked to go to something like this?
Yeah.
You know,
think our
and then on the
favorite
way
thing,
back,
too-
they're excited. They're so glad they got chosen because
Oh.
they come back with amazing things.
Yeah. Our favorite thing too, I think, is when we have those educators or the students where like they maybe not are into it in the beginning, they're a little bit more reserved. And then by the end, they're like, that was awesome. Like, thank you. We learned so much. We got to, speak about ourselves or our truth and things like that. So I think it's a really nice thing to have. Be a part of.
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
Cindy and I
Very
say that
true.
too. Every
Very
time
true.
we get to we're invited to do one of these workshops, we leave and we always say, what a great day.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
we can see that the teachers that come in are like, I really needed this.
Yeah,
And
Well,
it's a
and what
good-
they say to us is,
Yeah.
we never get anything just for,
For us.
It's always
Mhm.
about what we're going to do with the students, but it's for us, and they need it. Everybody
do
needs
need
like
it.
a little refresher.
Yeah.
So what do you think? And this is strictly your opinion. What do you think after, how many years have you worked for SPTS? and Lead You?
I am Lead You. It's been about like 6 years with doing Lougee-Marketing and stuff. And then SPTS, I'm over like a year and a half full time with them.
Okay. So what would you say, this is just your opinion, that children or, teens need regarding mental health and wellness?
Yeah. I think there's two things. And it's actually kind of funny coming out of my mouth because I do all of our social media. But a kind of just pulling back off of social media as like a teenager, or as even people are getting phones when they're like 10. Like, and I understand for the safety purposes, but even at 32, the amount of information and the amount of things that you get from your phone, and trying to navigate that as a teen, a young adult, or even an adult, I find is very difficult. One of my favorite sayings is like, comparison is the thief of joy. I don't know where I heard it, but I heard it once. And
it's a good one.
That I feel like when you're younger and you're on your phone, you're on Instagram, TikTok, all of these different things, and you're kind of finding out who you are, you feel like you need to emulate this person that's on your phone, and you're getting like a highlight reel of someone's thing. And it's hard to separate, like, this isn't someone's normal life. This is what they're showing you, and they're carefully curating that. And on the flip side, I think social media can be very useful. It can connect you to communities. It can help you when it's managed the right way. So it is funny. That's why I'm always like, I have like a very hate-love relationship with social media, because I think
it does have its purpose.
It does. It has its purpose. And like, I'm someone, I have like, after 20 minutes, okay, you have to get off. Like, I have like timers on all of my social media just so that I can, you get lost in it. And I've sat there and I've compared myself, like, my life isn't as good as this person's because they're traveling all these places. And as someone, I'm very happy that I did not have to grow up with that at such a young age. But I think that's something that, it just needs to be monitored or managed, or like people to be self-aware of, would be the one. And something that I think that wasn't very big when I was younger, that I think it's happening now but needs to happen more, to talk about it, to make it part of the conversation. And I love seeing it. I love that it is a part of the conversation right now. But I think being able to talk to your kid, hey, are you feeling a certain way? And they're understanding that, because going through certain feelings and you're not understanding them is scary for an adult, for a kid, been there. And I feel like a lot of people have probably had those experiences. So I think just the opportunity, keep giving children and adults the opportunity to talk, and let them know that it's okay to talk about how they're feeling.
Really
very
good.
Well said. And you know what's interesting, that you just said that I'm glad I didn't have to grow up with that.
Yeah.
So you recognize, and you're not the first over 30 person, your age group, that has said that to me.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I didn't have that.
And that they recognize the pull into social media, that it's very easy to get sucked in.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I give you kids credit. Give them all credit. Like, it's not easy. No, it really isn't. No.
Now, do you find that in the wellness events that kids are talking about it? Like, do you find, maybe not at 8 a.m. in the very beginning activities, but by the end of the day, do you feel like kids are actually opening up and talking about how they feel?
Yeah, so we actually do a panel during like our,
because we don't get to be in any of those.
Yeah, we're
in a different schedule.
We do a panel, which I think is really nice, where we pull people that are younger that have experienced mental health, or they work for different companies now, or they're in colleges working, like doing certain things, but we have people text in the questions. So like, the teens can text them in if they have any questions. But I also have found after, and they'll come up to us and be like, hey, we really like that they said this. Like, is there any more information you can give? Because we can't have a panel the whole entire day, but it gives them about an hour and a half to, ask the questions that they need, and then have our youth panel answer. But it's nice when they feel open enough to be like, I really like what this person said. Can you like expand more on that? And they'll ask like our staff that. And then to hear them talk with each other, I think is another thing that is nice. Yeah, like they might not come up to me, they just met me, but it's nice to hear them talk with their peers, because we give them moments for like turn-in talks and things like that, and just this is how I'm feeling. This is how I handled it. Like, have you ever experienced something similar? Right. So I think it really comes back to like connecting with your peers too, like giving the opportunity. And it's nice that they can talk about that with each other. It was not a thing.
Yes. It was not a thing.
It was not a thing before. I'm very happy it's a thing now, but it really wasn't before.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's switch gears.
Okay.
And since you put it in your bio and you shared that with us, let's talk about what happened with your boyfriend.
Yes. So I had that something that kind of turned my life into a completely different direction. So I think it's a very important part of my story, and also kind of what led me to SPTS and why I wanted to really proceed with that, because it's a mental health nonprofit. So when I was 27, yes, my boyfriend at the time, he unexpectedly and suddenly passed away. Did not handle it well. I feel like it's an obvious thing. It put me kind of just on a completely different path. I've experienced anxiety and stuff before. It kind of blew the doors open on like anything that I ever felt and dealt with. I actually went into group this is going to be a tongue twister. Group grief therapy.
Good. That's good.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
I remember when I went, it was like two weeks after, and the woman was like, this happened 2 weeks ago. And I was like, no, like, you don't understand. Like, if I did not try to find some semblance of help, like, I was in so much emotional pain. Like, I was like, I can't do it. Like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. So I did group therapy. Then I found a regular therapist. Then I went and saw like a priest at like church. I was searching for anything to just help
you make sense of it.
Help me feel better, help me make sense. I mean, we were young, healthy, all of that. So it was a very difficult time, and it's still hard. That's something too that like this is my first time openly really talking about it with anybody. Aside from like close friends and family and things. So it's something that I still do deal with. It's about to be 5 years this month. And grief, in my experience, the stages are not linear. Or if there are stages, it's a very chaotic experience and a lot of mistakes and a lot of bumps, and it's scary. And I feel like through SPTS and like I've learned a lot about it. Like when I know I mentioned like my bio that I, a lot of mental health, like suicidal ideation and things like that. And I didn't understand it. So for me, I called them the dark thoughts, like, because this was something that was never talked about. Grief is a very taboo conversation, and it's uncomfortable. And I get that. I get uncomfortable talking about it. But it was something that I want to talk about, and it's difficult for me, but I think it's important that people know about grief and learn about that. Like, it's a lonely experience, and I was very lucky. I have a support system, and when I had those dark thoughts, I didn't talk about them with anybody. I would have anchors, is what I called them. So like when I felt like spiraling and I felt like kind of at a low place, I would like think of my family. Like I was like, okay, that's my anchor. Like, remember that. Pull yourself out of this like place. And there was never any intent of like an act, but I didn't care if I woke up. I didn't, COVID happened, and then I was reckless. I was like, I'm going to go out and I'm not going to care about COVID. And I was coping through drinking. Like, it was just a very bumpy road.
But that's normal with grief. No one prepares you. How are you supposed to know? Like, this majorly important person in my life is going to die unexpectedly. How are you supposed to deal with that?
Yeah.
And
it was.
There's no rules in grief. And I applaud you as, a young person going through that you were reaching out for something. Like maybe the therapy, maybe that wasn't it. You talked to the priest, you went to individual, but a lot of people feel this way and they don't do anything. At least you were reaching out for something that was helping.
Yeah.
So what was it? Was there one thing, or was it just time, or was it?
I feel like there was a couple things. One of the things that I started early on in like my journey was I my boyfriend at the time passed away, was Scott. I would write to him like every night for probably years. I would say probably almost 3 years, because that's the person I talk to every day.
Yeah.
And then they're taken away from you. And then you're like, well, who am I supposed to talk to? What am I supposed to do? So I started writing and I started journaling, and like, but they were all directed, like I was talking to him. So that was kind of my way of like having a connection. Therapy. And I'm a very big, I still go. It took me a minute to find the right one.
It's very important to find the right fit.
To also keep trying. And I've had conversations with my friends who also want to go to therapy, and they're like, I already went to one, I didn't like it. Like, I don't want to go to somebody else. And I was like, it's exhausting retelling your story. It's exhausting going through it all, but like, keep going. I went through probably 3 or 4 different ones until it clicked. And grief is a complex thing. So like, I understand it took time, but just stick with it would be my, big thing. And then I also started writing poetry. That really helped me as well. More so to get all of those thoughts that I didn't understand. Like, I wasn't able to communicate all of those thoughts. I kind of dealt with things internally. I don't cry in front of people. I was very like, I just kind of internalized it all and was like, I'm going to go out and make jokes and have fun. And like, everyone's going to think I'm completely fine. But then like internally, I was like really, really struggling. So I was like, how do I get this out of my head and figure out what is happening? So that's how I started writing poetry. Yeah. A friend of mine was like, you should try, you write, you should try writing poetry. And just so happens he's my boyfriend now, so that's nice. Yeah.
We know.
Now we know. Yeah, good friend. Yeah, a friend who was a friend of mine and just suggested it. And now it's how I cope. I started trying to write a poetry book. So it's, it's very therapeutic. And like, even if nobody reads it and it's just for me, it's like, that's how I worked it out. Yeah. And that's how I,
What kind of poetry is it?
It's a little all over the place. Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually wild to see the journey that it's taken from when I started until now. It was very dark and very depressing. And I was that person that was like, there is no light at the end of the tunnel. Like, I don't see it. There isn't one there. Everyone, please stop telling me it's going to get better. And now to be kind of growing and healing and seeing things in a different light, it's gotten more like brighter, and that I've learned lessons, and that like the universe, like I have faith in that there's like a plan for me in the universe. So it's definitely changed.
And that's a good way to think of it. Your grief didn't stop. It's not like you just were like, oh, I'm fine now.
Yeah.
But you're carrying it in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I had a bad day last week. Something upset me or triggered me, and I just couldn't, like, all day I was crying. And I was like, I haven't had a setback like that in a while, or I don't want to call it a setback, but like, I haven't taken steps back like that in a while. So I was talking to my therapist, and something that I also need to learn is to like give myself grace and like kindness in those moments, because you start disassociating, you start having all of these feelings that I haven't had in a while. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what's happening? And like, I feel like I'm back years ago when I felt like I was going crazy. Like, and I think that's important to note too. Like, you're not going crazy. And someone who's dealing with so much grief, it's okay. And give yourself that kindness is, something I'm learning. But yeah, it's very important to talk about it and to know that it doesn't go away, and let it walk beside you is kind of what I've, learned, and to embrace it when it comes.
You're
Shawna,
right. Is she not going to be perfect
Shawna,
for common ground?
I have to say to you, Shawna,
Read a lot of books.
that you, I know this had to be hard for you to come on and talk about this. And
thank you for doing that.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you for giving me the space.
And there are so many people that are going to listen to this and say, oh, that's exactly how I feel.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you're giving them the permission, and also the as you said, the grace to see that there will be changes and there will be setbacks, but there are good. It's just like anything else. Life is full of good days and bad
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
But we come back for another day.
Yeah.
So which brings us to, so working at SPTS can bring you a lot of joy, but there's also sadness, because I'm sure that in your work there, you've seen, kids have probably revealed their own sadness and their own grief and their own demons. And I love the way you phrase things, the joy thief. What was the other thing that you said?
Comparison is like the thief of
yeah,
joy.
like
Comparison is the cancer of the
yes,
mind.
Yes.
Right?
So many, which those like key words are so important, to find those words and to like actually name what it is I'm feeling. But anyway, so there's definitely sadness. Yeah. So how do you cope with that? Other people's sadness. Yeah. So is there a routine or a ritual that you have, or, do you just, what do you do?
Yeah. Specifically when it comes to work and like the heaviness of that, in the beginning of starting with SPTS was difficult. Like I had a lot of difficulty, and I also am still learning through them, which I think is a good thing. And one of the things that they say there, which helped me kind of understand my, dark thoughts, as I call them, like it's not about like someone wanting to end their life. It's about wanting to end like the deep emotional pain.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that was like when we were doing a training, that was like a light bulb in my head. I was like, so that is why I was feeling all of these things. But it was very difficult to kind of also come to realizations that were like put in front of my face through my training. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that was something that like was happening to me, and I didn't understand how to communicate it. And people that I worked with, I'm lucky enough, they noticed, and like they are very supportive. And we do have, moments where it's like, if it's getting too heavy, like step out, take a day, do what you need to do. Like everyone, the communication is very good if someone needs like a moment, and it's known. So when, something happens or we hear about something happening in the community, it's like we sit down, we talk about it, we have a moment just to like, is everyone doing okay? It's really helpful. And I think it's nice that everyone that I work with has that mindset of just like, we all know this is heavy. For me, I kind of try to change it as like, we're going to help them. Like we're going to do what we can to try and help. This is a heavy topic, but it's a topic that needs to have conversations surrounding it. So like, let's help. Let's try to give someone the resources or show them the warning signs. So I kind of like take that moment and I'm like, okay, what can we do? How can we help? And where are we needed? So it's a balance, and it gets heavy. I mean, personally, I have a routine to cope with my day-to-day life. I like to go to the gym. I like to listen to music. I write. So I try to keep a routine. For me, that's kind of just my little way of controlling my life.
A routine
is
we're all about
all about the rituals.
Yeah.
Rituals
Morning,
and routines.
Evening.
We talk about it everywhere we go.
Yeah. It's all about the ritual.
So
You're
I think
in good company.
So whether you realize it or not, you are describing what it is to practice compassion. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. So, I'm not going to feel your pain inside me, because that's going to make me feel worse, but I'm going to do something to help you feel better. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what you did. Okay. So
I've never heard that before. That's
it. That's a really nice way to put it. Read my blog. I just wrote about that.
It's a really nice way to put it. And
it is, but it's true. That's do something for someone else, you feel better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you teach them how to be resilient.
Yes.
Everybody needs it.
That's a very big, that's the word that we use a lot in SPTS is resiliency. Resiliency, that's what we try to teach.
Okay. So the first time Cindy and I, after we met you, we were saying like, okay, we need to get Shawna to come do some work for us. So the first time we asked you, you dished us off and went, no, why don't you ask someone else? And we were like, no, we want you.
Then Jen had approached you. Then I had to approach you. It was like, we had to do like this convincing. And then the two of us are like, what the heck is going on?
What are we doing? Like,
we're
she's
offering
perfect.
Her work.
Yeah, we need her to do it. And then we're like, she's not confident to do this, but we knew that you were.
Yeah.
And even you coming here, we were like, we know, like, She needs to
She's
be
gonna
here.
shine.
She's going to shine. So how do you describe confidence, or like, how are you getting more comfortable with being confident?
Yeah. So as you guys know, it's something that I currently am working on.
Uh-huh.
I think kind of after everything that happened and Scott passed away, it put like a negative thought in my mind. It was just like, you're broken, you're damaged, you're all of these things. And that took a very like hard hit on who I was and my confidence. And I got lost as like who I was. And I think now for me, confidence is being like secure in who I am and secure with all of these parts that maybe are a little broken. And maybe I am still growing and I am still working, and not thinking that I need to be at a certain place in my life and in my journey, and that like everyone is different, everybody's paths are different, and be okay with that. And I think when you guys first met me, I was not okay with that. I was going through something, I want to say, and where my confidence started to build was in a moment where like I was in a situation that just wasn't healthy, wasn't serving me, and I had to choose myself and be like, you deserve better. And in that moment where I had to choose me is really when I kind of started building my confidence back up. And it's a work in progress, but I definitely feel like I am getting there, and I'm happy to see myself growing and doing what I do. And I think it's a work in progress all around, but we're doing it.
So
I
let me
love
give you a
that.
little surprise. Everybody should still be growing.
Yeah.
Even at my age,
Mhm.
you should always want to be growing and learning. Like it's not going to be like, woo, I'm
Yeah.
done.
No,
Yeah.
it's
Because when
never
you're
like
done,
that. You're
done.
done.
it's over.
Yeah.
That's it.
I think everyone's just out here doing the best we can.
Yes. So what do you think people, like you talked about growing up, and, you're so glad with technology, you didn't have to grow up with like how kids are now, and even Cindy and I, we both grew up in a different world than you did. So people who are in your generation and close to your age, what do you think that they're facing? Like, what are the key issues that they're facing in mental health and wellness?
I think looking at myself or looking at friends or in the 30 generation, whatever age range, kind of comes back to that growth. And it might not be personal, but seeing things happen or friendships grow apart, or someone is getting married or having a family and you want all those things and it's not happening for you, can very much like hurt you. Like you're so happy for that person, but you're like, but like,
What
why?
about me?
Yeah, like why not me? What about me? And I think people go on different paths and lives kind of shift, and you might grow apart from a friend, and like that's okay, but their life changes are hard. And I think at this age, it's, yeah, you also growing up, it was like you go to school, you go to college, you get married, you start a family. And I didn't take that path. I like very much forged my own. I didn't go to college for like 4 years. I kind of started working. And I think the pressure of that is still very much there in like my generation of this is the way life should be. It's nice to see that it's kind of opening up in there. You don't have to do that. And someone's single getting a dog, and it's like, that's awesome. Like,
So they don't have that unrealistic timeline.
yeah, the timeline.
So I think that's
is
very
where-
rigid for people to say,
Yeah.
like, I have to follow this schedule and to get married at this age and have kids at this age and buy a home at this age. And that's ridiculous.
Where
Yeah.
did happy come in that?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's nice to see that the conversation isn't as much with pushing a timeline. But I think it's just hard to separate that. Something that
Mhm.
you've grown up kind of being instilled in you, and then you kind of have to escape that habit of being like, well, my life should be here. Like this is where my life should be. So I think escaping that and dealing with changes and maybe friendships growing apart and life changing in a big way, like mentally can take a toll on somebody. And now that mental health is being so talked about, which is a wonderful thing, you're also learning a lot about possibly yourself
Yeah.
and things that you may have not known. Like I think it's nice.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, okay, Shawna. So before Cindy gets to our final questions,
Okay.
where can people find out more about you?
They can find out about me through Instagram. I have Instagram. It's Shawna X Lougee, Loug. And then I run the Lead You and SPTS social medias as well, so they can talk to me through that. Or if they want to learn more about SPTS and Lead You, that's a great way. DM me.
Okay. And your poetry, is anything published, or is it's still in production? There
are a couple poems that I put out on like my Instagram. I have like some written that I'm like are gonna go in the book. If you guys want to hear them, they're there.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
You'll have to share some with us.
Yeah, I can share. I have them if you guys want.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Right now?
If we have enough time.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
definitely.
We'll circle back to
Circle back. Yeah.
I've got them. They're prepared.
Because that's perfect.
That's wonderful.
So how do you view failure?
How do I view failure? That's a good question.
It is a good question.
Very good
That's why we asked it.
I don't really ever use that word. I use like mistake, or before I said setback, because I believe in like learning. So I don't ever want to be like, that was a failure and I regret that. It's like, what did I take away from that?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. All right. So what are your 3 most important strengths? We know you have more than 3. But we want to focus on 3. So when I ask that question, what are the first 3 that come into mind? I know what I think of when I think of you, but that's
see,
all right.
this is hard.
Well, it's much harder
But it
when you
doesn't
ask
matter because
and you're talking
other
about
people
yourself.
always, are going to offer you something else.
Yes.
Maybe you didn't think of.
So I'm gonna kind of take from what you said, compassion. I've never been able to describe that, but I would say compassion, humor. I think I'm pretty funny.
You have to be.
Yeah, I think I'm
dealing with
funny.
the topics you're talking about.
And what is the third one? I would say.
Come on.
I know. So to say compassion.
When I say what I'm thinking, the first thing that came into my mind, you're going to go, oh yeah.
Yeah. I would say kindness. Yes.
All right. I would have said creative.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But kindness that's true
yeah.
too, because that's just kind of like you definitely have a light about you, and I feel that you after I have a conversation with you, I see you leave people feeling lighter.
Thank you.
So that's definitely a gift.
And there's definitely there's a magnetic
no question
property to you. We watch you. People are drawn to you.
Yes.
Thank you.
There.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So what is going well in your life? We're all about what went well. So one thing, just one thing.
I would say me. Like, I'm doing well.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that answer.
I would say I'm very happy with the person that I am growing into and becoming, and I'm feeling more secure and confident, which has been a great thing, and kind of challenging any, negative thoughts that I have, and just continuing to work on myself and be happy with that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
You kind of answered the self-care. We asked the question, how do you take care of yourself? But of course you do that. So every episode we end by asking these questions. Okay. Is there something in your life that you would like to change?
I would go back to the grace and the kindness thing, with myself, when I have those hard moments, and also these are tough. I don't know. I've never had to
it's really kind of is there a yes?
Is it a yes or a no?
Is there something that you want to change, or absolutely not? So it sounds like you would be
now.
Okay. Yeah. It doesn't have to.
It doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I was like, I didn't know. Yeah.
So then, of course, the next question would be, what's holding you back, and what's one thing that could help you move forward? So just a little aside, we gave you a Do Hard Things sticker.
Yes.
And one of the things that, we also teach people is that when we have those negative thoughts about ourselves, distance yourself from the thought. So start using your name. So Shawna, you can do better. Shawna, be nice to yourself.
Yeah.
Instead of you're an idiot or whatever else you
did
yourself.
go in the mirror before us having a conversation.
Very good.
I was like, that's why you went back in the bathroom.
That's why I went back in the bathroom. I had to give myself a little bit of a pep talk. I'm like, Shawna, you can do this.
You
Yes.
can
It's just
do
a
this.
conversation. You got it.
Yeah, perfect. All right.
Okay.
So, do we want her to do a little poetry, or you want to?
I think so. Do you have
Yeah.
a quick one that you could share with us?
Yeah, sure. So this is a little bit of one that's pretty recently, so it's a little bit lighter. It's called Shattered. So there was a time I laid my worth in someone else's hands, taking whatever someone would give me from the moment it began. The fragments of who I was, always thinking I was never enough, or maybe just a little too much. Feeling guilty while I was slowly wilting, my mind never stopped spinning, tilting, all consumed with anxiety and fear, distorting the girl inside the mirror. But that glass cracked, revealing it was never what I was lacked. Sometimes things happen you can never take back, one split second starting you on a new path, hurting while healing, working hard to stop the bleeding, each cut making you stronger, finding the girl you were looking for. Sometimes it just takes a little longer.
Beautiful.
How beautiful. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. So
Yeah.
keep writing. And we
Yes.
can't wait to hear more. And
Yeah.
thank you for sharing
Yeah,
that
definitely.
publicly.
Yeah, that was the first time I read a poem public.
Because that's really a lot of
firsts
pressure.
today.
A lot of firsts
firsts
today.
I appreciate you guys for letting me have all these.
So this is
firsts.
wonderful. But we're so glad you came on
Yes.
today.
Thank you.
And anyone that's listening, you can definitely tell or understand why Cindy and I wanted Shawna to come on and talk to us today, because you definitely have a lot to share and a lot to offer. Thank you for listening to us. And we will be on again with another amazing guest who's doing wonderful things in the mental health and wellness space. And if you would like to learn more about Cindy or about me, you can find us on our websites. Mine is www.mindsetnj.com. Cindy's is www.mindfulnessconnection.com. We are both on social media, for me at Mindset Jen and Cindy at the Mindfulness Connection. We have a YouTube channel at The Elevation Principles. Our book, The Elevation Principles, is available on Amazon. We just over the summer recorded our audiobook version, which will be coming out soon. And all of this wonderful work, we haven't been saying this, but now we're going to say it. All of the work that we've been doing is done right here on location, recorded, produced, edited by an amazing team at Black Swallowtail Studios here in Eatontown. So if you like what you see and hear and you want to know more about the studio, please look them up at their website or social media, Black Swallowtail Studios.
All right. So I'm just going to explain what this means. You always have a choice. You can respond or you can react. So our suggestion is that you pause, you take a breath, and then you respond. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Shawna.